The topic for today is the unconscious mind. And it is my pleasure to present Alan, and he's a new member of our church. Ziga, come on. Speaker for today. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is that okay?
Okay. Awesome. Hello, everyone. So, there we go. Hey, how's it going today, everyone?
Doing great.
Awesome. So yes, today I want to talk to you about the subconscious mind. So as a kid, I've always noticed patterns in people's lives. I once watched a show, I think I was like 10, about people who won millions in the lottery, like 60, 70, 100 million. And 2 years later, they'd wind up broke. And I always wondered as a kid, like, how is that even possible? I was like 10. So I was thinking, if I had $1 million, I'd run the world. How is this happening to these people? And then I'd notice people too, when they want to eat healthier, they eat healthy for like 6 or 7 days. And then after that, they're back to eating McDonald's and fast food. And I always wondered, why does this happen? Another thing was people who were always broke. Because I knew a lot of people in my life like that. And, they'd be like that for years, and then they start saving money. And then typically 2 weeks later, their car would break down. Or the bill collectors would come and call their phones and harass them. Or they would buy a flat screen TV, and then they would be broke again. And I always perplexed me, like, why is this happening? Why do people repeat patterns in their lives? It's like they want to change, but it's like they can't. And what is this force holding them back? So I heard stories of people who did change. I heard about this guy, he used to be terrible at math in school, and they told him he would never amount to anything. And as an adult, he grew to be a math genius, a human computer. And I heard stories like this, and I knew change was possible, but I never saw an example of it in my life. And I wondered how I could change. And so when I was 18, my cousin introduced me to The Secret. Because everyone knew I was into like mind over matter and stuff. And she wasn't particularly interested, but she said, you'd be interested. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I watched it and I was like, wow, this it changed my life, because I've always felt stuff like this was possible, creating your own reality. And the law of attraction is basically, the energy you put out into the universe is what you receive back. So, and they talked about in The Secret, if you want to receive something, you got to feel like you already have it. So if you want $1 million or something, you got to feel like you got it. So you'd probably feel abundant and free and joyful. So feel that way as much as possible, and you'll bring it into your life. You'll start to attract it into your life. And I was like, okay, well, I want $1 million, shoot. And so I started to feel that way. And, things started to turn around for like 7 minutes. Like I found a couple of dollars on the ground. I'm like, okay, this is working. And then all of a sudden, my life would be back to normal. And that was the biggest thing I heard other people complain about, is that they would start to manifest and then things would just go back to normal. And I still wondered, what is going on? And when I want to know something, I become obsessed with it and I have to know it. So I went on a journey. And then when 3 years later, actually, I was 20 or 21, I learned about the subconscious mind. And that explained everything. So the subconscious mind is a part of us that controls 95% of our actions, thoughts, feelings, decisions we make. 95% of it is controlled. And the thing about the subconscious mind, so sub means below, conscious means awareness. So below our awareness. So 95% of everything we're doing, we don't even know we're doing it. And that explained why people would sabotage themselves. Like the people who wanted to eat healthy and then would go, because the subconscious mind, another thing about it is it wants to stay consistent. It wants to go, so it doesn't want, it wants us to stay normal, quote unquote, for us. So when somebody tries to change, your subconscious mind, again, that controls 95% of us, is like, no, you want to change and bring you right back to where you are. And that's why change is so hard. But the subconscious mind isn't a bad thing. To our advantage if we know how to alter it. So how is the subconscious mind programmed? So the subconscious mind, and again, this is 95% of our life, our experience is controlled by this. It's initially programmed when we're kids. Because kids from the age 0 to 7, we don't have to really think. So we just kind of take in whatever's going on around us. So whatever our parents told us, what our teachers told us, what we saw in TV shows, religion, everything, what we saw our parents do, what we saw other kids do, how we saw people treat each other, all of that gets absorbed into our unconscious. And then we play those behaviors out throughout our whole lives, unless we alter it, unless we become aware of it and change it. But most people aren't doing this. So we just play these behaviors out our entire life. So a good example, I remember this was like 6 years ago. I read this book called Secrets of the Millionaire's Mind by T. Harv Eker. And he talked about this guy, I think his name was Steven. And Steven made $800,000 a year. That's some pretty good money if you ask me. Here's the thing about Steven. Steven, and he made this money for about 9 years, but Steven was broke, flat broke, literally $0 to his name, zero net worth. And you think $800,000 a year, he'd have a good saving, maybe investment. No, nothing. And it turns out that when he was a kid, his mom always used to say, what did he say? Rich people are greedy. They make their money off the sweat off of the poor. And if you have any more than, you should have just enough to get by. And if you have any more than that, you're a pig. So think about that. Think about and she always said this when he was a kid. If you have any more than just enough to get by, you're a pig. He doesn't want to be a pig. So his whole life, he was playing out this behavior. So even though he was making $800,000 a year, he was sabotaging himself. That 95% of him was making decisions without his awareness. So he was making bad investments, lending money to people he knew wouldn't pay him back, and just blowing his money without even realizing it. And see, and the thing about the subconscious mind is you think, wait a minute, the subconscious mind, you think, wouldn't it want us to save and do better? But the subconscious mind isn't logical. Its job is just to run out the program. Whatever we learned when we were a kid, just run it. Boom, whether it's good or bad. So that's the thing about it. That's why we got to be careful how, with kids and what we tell them. So they changed his belief because, we can change what's in our subconscious mind. We can change the contents. We can change our beliefs. So they did whatever they did. They changed his belief system. And within 2 years, he was a millionaire. But another example is, say you grew up in a dysfunctional household. Your parents always argued, and they would start arguments with random people, and they never wanted to be social. They always kept you isolated, and you never really saw anything else, and that's all you saw. So then when you grow up as an adult, you start arguing. That's what you do. You find it hard to make friends. Whenever you have a relationship, you always argue until the person has had enough. And that's because that's all you saw growing up. So 95% of your behaviors are playing that out. And so maybe you're like, you know what, I want to do better. Say that happened. I want to stop arguing with people. You don't know how the subconscious mind works. You go like a week, you stop picking fights with people, then all of a sudden, because your subconscious mind, it's like, no, this isn't how relationships work. You're supposed to fight with people. So your subconscious mind will literally send you thoughts. Oh, that person made me angry 2 years ago. And then you'll have to play it out because you haven't changed the inside. You're trying to change the outside without changing the inside. And I'm going to teach you how to change the inside, but I want to give you one more example of the subconscious mind and how it works. So another example of subconscious mind playing out behaviors could be maybe you did have a decent childhood and you were 16, you got transferred to a new high school, and then someone starts to bully you and you get angry, but the bully is like 3 times your size and no one does anything about it. And then you get angry, and then this happens every day, and you keep thinking about it, and you get angry over and over again. And you weren't an angry person before then, but you get every day, he pisses you off. Even on the weekends, you think about him, you're angry, and this goes on for a whole year. Well, now you've become angry, you've so much that your body gets used to it because it's like a habit. You do something so many times, your body just takes it on. So that's what happens with emotions too. If we feel an emotion for too long, if we react to a situation for too long, our body wants to keep that emotional state because it's just like anything else. It's a habit. Emotions are habits too. So now, say, you go to college and the bully's gone now. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to be a happier person. And you go to school and, there's no one bullying you, but your body's like, wait a minute, you've been angry this past year. Like, you're just going to be happy now? No. And then your body starts sending you thoughts, you angry. Because the body wants to remain consistent. The subconscious mind doesn't want to change. So if you try to change your emotions or actions, your subconscious mind, that 95% of part of you, no, and it's going to do whatever it can to keep how you were before. And so there's ways to hack the subconscious mind to make it change to work for your benefit so that you're not stuck in that pattern the rest of your life, because that's what could happen. And that's what happens to most people, and they don't even know it because they're so used to feeling negative emotions. They've done it for so long, it just feels normal. So when you break out of that pattern, the subconscious mind doesn't like that. So I want to teach you, I want to get through as many ways as possible to alter your subconscious mind um, in this talk. I don't know how much time I'll have, but one way and one thing I mentioned this in my last talk is that emotions and thoughts are connected. So oftentimes, if you go to YouTube, YouTube will say, "Oh, change your thoughts, change your life," and that is true. But changing your emotions is a lot more important than changing your thoughts. So I'll tell you why. So every thought is connected to an emotion. So, but every emotion is connected to hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of thoughts, millions of thoughts. So I'll give you an example. Abraham Hicks, she says that when you want to attract love into your life, you don't just have to focus on, a romantic partner or anything like that. You can focus on anything you love. It could be a food, it could be a pet, it could be a family member, anything you love. And because there's a lot of things attached to love, not just one. So the same goes with negative emotions, with anger. So like say if you have a pattern of anger that your body keeps holding on to and you can't seem to break it, there's a lot of things that make you angry. It's not just, like we'll go to the bully example. It's not just the bully. It's you might have a car you don't like that makes you angry. And then you have watch the news and that makes you angry. You have a bunch of things in your life that make you angry. So if you were just to work on the bully, in that example, so say he wants to get over his anger of the bully, he could do that, but there's still going to be anger left in him. But if he actually focuses on getting rid of the anger itself, everything he's been angry about, gone. So when you actually work getting rid of a suppressed emotion, it gets rid of all of the thoughts on the frequency of that emotion. So you're not just, again, so it's more efficient. So I'll tell you how to do this. So whenever the emotion of anger or any emotion that you keep feeling in your body that comes up, you want to actually feel the emotion. You don't want to try to push it away, because a lot of people, they try to do whatever. Like when the emotion comes up, they want to go to Instagram or they'll drink, or a lot of people, that's how people get addicted to drugs, just because they don't want to deal with the emotions. And it can be hard, I get it. It's but if you actually let yourself feel the emotion without thinking the thoughts, you just let yourself feel the emotion, that actually helps release the emotion. And that actually releases the emotion quicker than anything else. And the thoughts that go with the emotion also go away with it. So when the emotion comes up, like I said, you want to feel it, and you'll notice that it might change shape, it might get more intense, but you just want to let yourself focus on it. You can, it might be a certain color, it might be a certain shape, but whatever you do, just don't try to push it down. Just let yourself feel it. And it can be scary, because this is the stuff we all try to avoid. But if you let yourself, even if it's only for 3 minutes, you're going to release more of that emotion than you would in a year of therapy. Like it's such a powerful technique. And I heard another thing is pretending that you're going to hug the emotion too. So if that emotion keeps coming up, if you hug it and you just let it do whatever it wants, it might get more intense. Like I said, it might move around a little bit. That's okay. Just whatever you do, just put all of your attention on it. And you can hug it. You can also put your arms out too. And I heard that helps release it quicker. But I've done this myself and it works like a charm. I'll give you a quick story. Actually, I mentioned this in my last talk too. I had this one, my whole life I've had noisy neighbors. Loud music, arguing, loud music while arguing. It was terrible. And I remember I moved to this apartment. It was my first time living alone, officially without like a roommate or anything. And I went a few months and I didn't have a noisy neighbor. And then a neighbor moves in next to me who was just the worst kind of neighbor, like 4 a.m, loud music, like yelling, arguing on the phone. And I'm like, I can't deal with this anymore. I'm going to strangle him. And one day I'm like, let me try this. What I'm telling you, like, because I'd always feel the emotion like in the pit of my chest. Like whenever I would hear him, I'd be like, ah. And so one day, this was actually on Halloween night last year. I sat in my car for about an hour. Well, actually, it was 4 hours I sat in my car, but for an hour and a half, I was clearing different emotions. And I remember whenever I'd have a noisy neighbor, I'd feel the same feeling in the pit of my chest. So I'm like, let me try this out. Let me think of that noisy neighbor. But I thought of him, and like that anger, that frustration came up, and it was right here in the pit of my chest. And for an hour, I just focused on the emotion. I just let it do what it wants. It moved around, it did whatever. And I just put all my attention on it. And slowly but surely it released more and more and more. And within about an hour, hour and a half, it was gone. And I thought of my noisy neighbor, and the thought of him didn't bother me anymore. And I'm like, this is cool. So I get back home to my apartment, and nothing. I heard no noise from him. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I didn't really think anything of it, but because it was just to stop my agitation around it. But like, I'm like, okay. And then the next night, I heard nothing. And the night after that, and 2 weeks straight, I heard not a peep from him. And this was someone who was yelling, like screaming, arguing on the phone at 4 a.m, playing video games. I heard nothing. And I'm like, wow. And then 2 days went by where I heard him a little bit, but it wasn't too bad. And then about another 2 weeks went by and I heard nothing, not a peep. And then after that 2 weeks, he got evicted. And since then, and I had to move in December, but since then I haven't had a noisy neighbor since then at all. And it makes sense because the energy we have that we possess within us, we're always communicating with the universe. Okay, so when I got rid of that suppressed emotion, that emotion was already in me because I had noisy neighbors for years. So when I confronted that emotion and released it, reality had to conform to that because reality is always conforming to our energy, our emotions, our feelings. And that's the best way, honestly, that's the best way to change your subconscious mind is doing this technique because you're releasing a lot of beliefs because we've all heard of emotional blockages, right? We've emotional blockages and limiting beliefs. Limiting belief is a belief that stops you from attaining your goal. An emotional blockage is the same thing, but the emotional form of it. But an emotional bunch of limiting beliefs attached to it. So when you release an emotional blockage, you're releasing hundreds of limiting beliefs, thousands, tens of thousands. So try this technique, and I guarantee you, you'll feel a huge weight is lifted off of you. Another way you could change your subconscious mind is through. So we've heard of affirmations, right? So I'm not going to say I'm going to call this thing called affirmations. Affirmations. So they're question versions of affirmations. So like if feeling your emotions is a little bit too intense, I get it. So try this. So affirmation is instead of saying I am wealthy or I am happy, you would ask yourself, why am I so wealthy? Why am I so happy? How did I get to be so wealthy? Like that. Because the way our brain works is oftentimes when we do affirmations, like I am rich, your conscious mind, not your subconscious, but your conscious mind is like, what? You're not rich, get out of here. And it causes resistance and it actually pushes it away. But when you say, why am I so rich? Well, our brain is designed to answer questions. So then your brain starts answering like, oh, well, you're rich because you start saving money, you're saving money now and your energies, but it starts answering for that. So it actually is a way of saying an affirmation, but without the resistance. So again, so try this and it works a lot better than affirmations. Another thing you could do if you do like affirmations is you could record yourself. So say you want to be a happy person. You could say, I am happy. I am joyful. I enjoy life. And you record it. And then you could play it while you sleep at night. Because while you sleep at night, their subconscious mind is wide open and receptive. And that's why you should never fall asleep with the TV on. Because it programs your unconscious. They tell you, oh, the big pharma, they tell you need these pills. Never do that if you can avoid it. But yeah, if you're playing affirmations, I am happy, I am joyful. It's going straight into your subconscious mind without any resistance, especially the part while you're going to like, not quite while you're sleeping, but the part where you're just falling asleep. That's what we call theta. And that part is so powerful because that's like the frequency of our subconscious mind. That's the state our subconscious mind is in. It's called a theta state because we have 4 states. We have beta, 5 states, but beta is like the state our brain is in when we're awake, when we're aware, like when we're like what I'm doing now. I would be in beta. Alpha is like when you're more relaxed. You might sit down, maybe like you guys, you're more at peace. Theta is the part just when you're going off to sleep. And that's when your subconscious mind is most receptive. And that's when you want to implant. That's how hypnotists work. They get you in a theta state. They get you really relaxed to where you're almost asleep, but not quite relaxed. And they tell you you're a dog, and then people start barking like dogs. They actually think they're an animal. So, but you can use that to your advantage, that state right there, because if you say affirmations, I am happy, that's going right into your unconscious mind. And try that for 30 days, and you'll actually feel that way. It'll actually rewire your brain to become happy, to become that person. So you're probably thinking like, okay, I can do that while I sleep, but what about during the day? What can I do, while I'm driving? So you can also play affirmations while you're awake during the day. The only thing is you want to play them at a really low volume. The reason you want to do that is because, your conscious mind, that's a part of you that thinks, if you play I am rich, your conscious mind is still going to be like, what? No, get out of here, even if you're not saying it. But if you play it at a really low volume, your conscious mind doesn't hear it. So it goes right into your unconscious. You ever hear of subliminal messages? That's how it works. It works by flashing words really quickly or images to go right to your unconscious. Is it almost time? Oh, really? It's almost time. Wow. Gotcha. But yeah, so that's how subliminal messaging, or they play stuff really low so it goes into your unconscious mind. They do it so they can sell you your product, and they know how the subconscious mind works, but you can use it to your advantage. So you could play I am happy, I am wealthy, whatever, but play it at a really low volume. That's what I do while I'm driving. Sometimes I'll put headphones in and I'll just play it really low. And I do notice a huge difference. One last way I'll say, because I know it's almost time, is meditation is really good. Because when you meditate, and I know sometimes it takes some practice, but meditation is good because your eyes are closed, you're not listening to anything, and you can become aware of certain behaviors that might be sabotaging you. And you can also get yourself into a theta state when you're really, really relaxed. I always say you're in a theta state when you're awake, but you can't feel your body. And in that case, you can actually do visualization because our mind thinks in terms of pictures. So you can do a picture of yourself of who you want to be. So you can see yourself as happy, see how you would walk, how you would talk. If you're scared to do something, see yourself as doing that. And that actually rewires your brain to actually look like you've already done it. So that way, when you get out of your meditation, it's like you're already happy. It's like you already have practiced being that way, even if it's hard to do in real life. If you do it over and over again for 30 days, I mean, you'll literally become that person. So is it official? Okay. So that's all. I have a couple more things, but just for time's sake. Yeah.
Next time.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Sorry. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I wish we could.
I know.
I need to.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, yeah. Does anyone have any questions? Well, then you need this. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, Dale?
So I'll just make a comment that I liked your presentation and you have a lot of good ideas there. And I think about the subconscious mind somewhat differently in terms of the conscious mind and the subconscious mind are unified and work together, and it can send messages back and forth. You can send to the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind sends to the conscious mind, and you can work together and make things.
Yeah, that's actually the last thing I was gonna say. If I had a yeah, because I had two other things. Yeah, you're right. The conscious mind can communicate with the subconscious, especially if you're in a relaxed state. But also vice versa, the subconscious can communicate with the conscious. That's where intuition comes from. So yeah.
Okay, Jim?
Yeah, how long do you typically meditate?
Good question. So I try to do at least 2 hours every day, but the longest I've gone is 6. And today I did it for 20 minutes. I did it in the parking lot. I only got to check because I was in a rush. I didn't want to be late. So.
To get into that state where your body's numb, how long does that take?
So that lately it's been taking about 6-7 minutes, but it used to take me like an hour. But I've practiced. So thank you. Okay.
Here, if you want to be that considerate.
I know when I'm on Zoom, I cannot hear the questions. Well, when you're on Zoom. Okay, so talk about we like to talk about things positively, right? But my brain is just like firing out like word of caution about affirmations, because I have looked at and watched, I've get sent, we get sent emails. There's a lot of stuff on YouTube, and actually a lot of it is actually harmful. Affirmations have to be done correctly. So can you speak to, just touch a little bit more, because I know you know what I'm talking about. Right. Okay. So just because it's that important that they are done correctly. And I'm just going to say, why I'm saying this is, one thing is our brain does not hear not. So if I say, don't think of the Statue of Liberty, you're going to think of the statue. You're going to think of the, but I said, don't do it. Okay. So that's how impactful it is. And then also you probably saw a picture when So just to reiterate what you were saying, we think in pictures. So just want to, if you can expand on that, that would be awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, so, oh yeah, for the Zoom people. All right, yeah, so basically with affirmations, yes, Carrie's right, you do want to be careful because you don't want to say, say you want to be, we'll go to the happy one. Say you want to be happy, you don't want to say, I am not sad, I am not disappointed, because the subconscious mind doesn't hear not. So when you say that, all the subconscious mind hears is, I am sad, I am disappointed. So you want to be careful. And another thing is you want to be present tense with it. So in other words, you don't want to say, I will be happy, or I will have this when you're doing your affirmations. You want to say, I have this, because the subconscious mind, it takes everything literally. So when you say, I will have this, you will always be almost having it, but you'll never actually have it. Same with wants. Be careful with want. Say, I want this. Oh, yes.
Just wants, and that's it.
I know. Yeah. But I want to be a millionaire. The subconscious mind, okay, you want to be a millionaire. Okay, you'll keep wanting it. You won't actually have it, but you want to say, I am a millionaire. And that the subconscious mind, if it accepts it, when you're doing your subliminals, you're listening to your affirmations, then it will actually become that. You'll move toward it naturally. So, yes.
One quick comment. I think with that also goes the fact that you don't need to work on the how. I am a millionaire.
Correct.
And I don't worry know how it's coming, but I'm gonna be a millionaire. I am a millionaire.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't focus on the how. Exactly. Because then that'll cause a lot of resistance. Awesome. Anyone else?
I love the speech and the part about the negative emotion to observe it, because you're right, you cannot not observe it. When it's calling your attention, and one thing that helps me when I hit that trigger, I've got my triggers, believe me.
Oh, yeah, so do I.
I keep
Yes.
thinking, okay, and if you listen to the Abraham Hicks, they talk about if you have a negative emotion, that means the source is saying it differently than you're saying.
Right.
So
Yep. Exactly.
you, it's really irritating you. There's something that you're not in alignment, so you can ask the source, well, how are you saying this? I'm really pissed off. And sometimes that helps me realize that my perception isn't the only perception.
Right.
And then
right.
that alone just boost up that a little bit more,
Yeah, and I should point out real quick, and then I actually ask that sometimes, like, how does my higher self see this? And I remember Abraham Hicks saying that nobody's actually wrong because their life experience has created their perception. Absolutely, 100%. What I was talking about with putting your focus on the negative emotion was more so emotional patterns. So not like somebody cuts you off in traffic, not like that, but like something you've held on to since you were a little kid, like anger, like for 10 years, and it just keeps coming up over and over. That's more so when you want to do focusing on the emotion. But yeah, you're absolutely right. If somebody triggers you, that is good to do. Like, how would my higher self see it?
Okay.
So awesome.
Okay.
Thank you all.
That's good. Thanks. Thank you, Alan. Thank you so much.
Thank you.